Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us at Liminal for this yet another exciting episode of All About Blockchain, wherein we discuss everything under the roof of this dynamic world of Web3. I am Akanksha Sharma, Manager PR and Events at Liminal, and for this third episode of our series, we are going to touch down upon a very interesting topic, that is multi-chain, the future of blockchain. But before we move on to this hot topic for today's discussion, I would like to take one small minute to thank our followers. And if you are new to this channel, please don't forget to click that red subscribe button down below. In our previous episodes, we have talked about decentralization, how to build in Web3, and automation. But for today's topic, we have a very special guest with us. And before I introduce my guest to us, I'm going to introduce our host, that is Lakshmi, who's Associate Manager Content at Liminal. Hi, Lakshmi. Now, I would like to introduce our guest of honor and the speaker for today, that is Rahil Sheikh. He's the VP Architecture at Zeppe, which is one of the India's leading exchange in India. Hi, Rahil. Over to you, Lakshmi.
Thank you so much, Akansha, for the brief introduction. And with this, I again welcome you all to the third session of All About Blockchain, where we exactly talk about blockchains. So today I will be in conversation with Mr. Rahil Sheikh, who's the VP Architecture at Zeppe. Rahil, coming from the blockchain space itself, we do believe he will be able to give us a newer and a broader perspective on blockchains and what exactly we as end users and developers should know before we enter into the space. So with this, over to you, Rahil. Please share some of your views on the topic.
I was working as a head of blockchain at Zeppe. I've been in the blockchain ecosystem since end of 2017. So that's when I basically joined Zeppe. Got really excited about Bitcoin and how tech solves the problem of trust, right? And then I've been in this space since that time onwards. I mean, coming to what you just said, Lakshmi, I think you are right. I think it's really important to talk about the on-ground stuff that's happening in blockchain, especially in tech. And the disruption is actually tech uh, when it comes to blockchain, right? Um, but yeah, I think really excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me, and really excited to have a chat about blockchain, multi-chain, and any other crypto blockchain related topic with you.
So thank you, Rahil, for the again the brief introduction. With this, my first question for you, a very basic one, is like how far your journey has been. As you mentioned that you've been in this space from the late 2017. So like it's been almost 5 years, 4.5, 5 years now. So I do want to know like how it has been, what all experiences you've had, good one, bad one, and where do you see this going?
So a one-word answer would be it has been a roller coaster ride. It's been great, a lot of learning. When I like really got into, so I bought my first Bitcoin in 2016. That is when I didn't really know much about Bitcoin, but I just bought it because I got to know about it. But I think end of 2017, that was the first major bull run that happened. And then 20 it carried on till early 2018, and that's when I got involved in this space. So there was a lot of excitement about it. But then come like 3-4 months down the line, there was this mandate by RBI that kind of crippled the entire industry and brought
Yeah.
it almost to its knees. So since then, it's been a grind, trying to build things. And from a tech perspective, it's basically like you're always learning something new. It's everything is, you could call it an innovation, right? Because you're doing this for the first time, right? And
Right.
yeah, I think the journey has been like really great. A lot of learnings, getting to know a lot of interesting people, and the main thing is like solving the problem of trust and bringing decentralization, giving the power back into the hands of the user for their own data, right? So it's been really good. And I think when it comes to like what I see what will happen, it will continue like this. It is going to be a roller coaster for a while till
Yeah.
it eventually takes off. So I think there will be like multiple hype cycles that will happen. um, there will be good build up, and then there will be like everyone will think, okay, now this is the 10th time Bitcoin is going to die. But eventually I think this is going to grow, and then it's going to be the future. So it's going to be the next internet level disruption.
So yeah, I very much agree with you on that, that it has been a roller coaster and it will be a roller coaster. And with this, my next question will be for you that every market respond in a different way. And especially when we talk about the Indian markets, I want to know your perspective on that, that how Indian markets are responding to blockchain.
So I think what has been happening is, so when it comes to like crypto markets, it's largely connected to the global market space, except when it comes down to like specific regulations. So in India, the regulations that have come out for taxation, right, they are kind of, you would call it like strict, on the stricter side, which has hampered the markets and the industry, and the sentiment is running lower than the global macro, specifically in
Mm,
India. But when it comes to going into the building space, like creating stuff, the creator economy, that's where I think India is thriving. There are a lot of people who are interested. I think there's ETH India happening probably like end of this year. So a lot of communities are being formed in India, and there's a lot of talent. There are a lot of influencer, really good influencers. So I think India has almost everything to
mhm.
be like to excel in this space in the coming years. Uh, the the only downside is the regulations at this point, but I think sooner or rather, I think we'll get to that as well. And when that comes, it would be like all floodgates open for us.
True, very true. So, as you just mentioned, the blockchain industry is booming, and especially in a nation like India, which is still developing, there's a lot to see and a lot to explore. But don't you think at the same time, it's a well-known fact that blockchains, they suffer congestion, they suffer scalability issues, and I want to know your take on this.
Okay, so I think so it's basically see a matter of supply and demand, right?
Right.
I mean, whenever you make something for the first time, right, it's not going to be the best, or it's
Mm,
not the end product, right? Even like in a normal product development cycle, you do a prototype, you do a MVP, you do phase one, phase two,
mm,
phase three, and then you eventually reach a level where everyone loves using it. And a really good example is internet, right? If you see web 1 was just made to like web 1 was what, like it was basically like big entities sharing information on the internet, and then users are just consuming it. Then came the web 2, where Facebook emerged, Google emerged, and then everything was driven by user developed content. But now if you
mm,
try to imagine building a web 2 ecosystem in the web 1 space, you couldn't have imagined it at that time. Like uh, streaming 4K videos, like in 2003, it was unimaginable. You would kind of think, okay, this is not going to happen, right? But it eventually happened. Right now, if you see for VR, right, uh, some countries are prepared, some countries are still not prepared in terms of bandwidth, um, in terms of device capabilities, but it will eventually happen, right? So it's a slow process, and I think with blockchains as well, um, definitely will achieve the scale when the demand comes. uh, so for example, like if you see Visa, right, or a lot of the time I see this comparison, right? Visa can process like I think upwards of 20,000 transactions per second, but the truth is that
right.
that amount of TPS is never achieved, right? And if you
Mm,
look at last year itself, 2021, I think Ethereum
mm,
did more transactions in the entire year than Visa itself, right? And
mm,
the TPS of Ethereum at this point maxes out at 15 to 20 TPS. So I think at this point there isn't that balance of demand and supply, demand coming. As that starts coming in, we'll see the scale issue being resolved. And then with ETH2, right, and layer 2, that's in India itself, we have like a couple of really good projects. So one is Matic, which is a layer 2 solution on top of Ethereum, which solves this scalability issue for Ethereum. And then there's Shardum, which Nischal is working on. That's going to be a layer 1, first of its kind, already started. So I think the short answer is, yeah, it's not an issue. Like it's an issue, but it's solvable and it will be solved.
Great. So I know, as you know, we are actually talking about a lot of topics here, and which also includes DeFi and DApps. And if I really want to touch these topics as well, so it is believed that DeFi is here to take the stage, and DApps are actually already ready for billions of people here. But user user does experience the issue of user experiences. So do you think this problem can be solved via multi-chain?
So I think there are a couple of terminologies that usually get floated. So let's kind of first define it. So
Sure, sure.
multi-chain is basically something where you have multiple chains working in parallel.
Mm,
It probably can include interchain, where chains directly talk to, like it's an ecosystem of chains and they can talk to each other. And then there's a
mm,
concept of cross chain where these multiple chains have bridges or something where you can like share data and stuff like that. So I think
right.
multi-chain definitely helps in terms of user experience because different ecosystems have different belief systems, and they have different areas of focuses, right? And they solve for that, right? And when you have
Mm,
things like that, some ecosystems excel in one thing, some excel in other, and the users have a right to choose, and they choose whichever works best for them. It also kind of introduces competition.
mhm.
So then basically like multiple chains and projects on multiple chains are competing for liquidity, they're competing for developer ecosystem, they're competing for app creation and stuff like that. So it will definitely help the user experience stuff of it eventually.
Yeah, so how they always say that in capitalism, it's always the end user who's benefited. So this competition will actually bring a lot of good things for us. So
Exactly.
with
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. As you just deciphered a few terminologies for us, I really want you to tell us more about blockchains or cross-chain aggregators in general.
So I mean, cross chain aggregators are basically like dexes built on top of, I would say, dexes or something like that. Because what they
Mm-hmm.
do is a dex is basically allowing you to trade on a single chain. When it comes to cross chain aggregators, they are able to trade on multiple chains, and they are able to find the best route with the lowest fee and the best liquidity
Mm-hmm.
to perform this trade, right? So I think that is the concept of cross-chain aggregators. They work via bridges, which are smart contracts. Sometimes it could be centralized entities as well. So I think they help definitely, like in terms of giving access to a greater liquidity. So, for example, if you see blockchain ecosystem is around somewhere around market cap of like 600 to 700 billion. Ethereum and
Mm-hmm.
tokens come around like 300 billion, right? Now, if you're
Mm-hmm.
just trading on a single chain, you are limited to that like size, right? And then if you're like just doing it on a single dex, again, like for some tokens, you might not have that liquidity, right? So with cross-chain aggregators, you get this greater, deeper liquidity, and you also get access to like assets, like multiple more assets in a single place. So yeah, so I think uh, they definitely have some value in the space, and they are useful for us.
So as you just mentioned about liquidity and how deeper the liquidity is getting with the advent of multi-chains, are there any other benefits than liquidity in terms of money, cost efficiency, or operational efficiencies, or faster transactions? So what
So,
is the scale of betterment in those terms?
so the main like the first thing that the blockchain needs to solve is to solve for decentralization, right? And then
Right.
it has to provide a base for the developers and the users to operate upon, right?
Mhm.
You could achieve scale by compromising decentralization, but I think that defeats the purpose. But like I said, right, multi-chain kind of introduces competition. So some chains solve for certain things. So some chains might solve for fees, right? Some chain solves for greater decentralization or like a better, easier ecosystem for developers. So there are pros over there, definitely, and they definitely help for the ecosystem to grow together.
Correct. Definitely. So basically, for every need, we have a chain. But we are waiting
Yeah.
for all these chains to come under the same roof and provide everything to us just in one box, or I would say in on a one chain. So yeah.
I think again, like over there, I have a slightly different opinion because like a
Hmm.
good analogy to this would be like something like operating systems, right? So if you see, we have multiple operating systems and
Right.
successful multiple operating systems. So you have your Windows, you have Linux, you have Mac OS, right? And they all work
Hmm.
well independently. Now there are apps that could be
Right.
developed that work across all of these operating systems and stuff like that, but uh, each of them has their own pros and cons, right? So that's where I
Mm.
think the multi-chain future kind of makes sense. So these different chains solving for different problems and excelling in what they're solving for, and then you'll have users who are aligned to those beliefs, and they'll stick to those like the chain they love. So some people will just go for Ethereum, right? Some people might choose Cosmos because of the interchain and stuff like that. So
Mm.
some people might choose Bitcoin, although like Bitcoin is not um, like fairly suited in terms of dApps and all of those things. It's mainly solving the problem of currency or money. But yeah, so I think you get my gist what I'm trying to say. So I think there will be multiple
Definitely.
chains and they might operate independently. There will be places like you say cross chain bridges where they might be able to communicate, but they definitely have some cons when it comes to like communicating to cross chain bridges and stuff like that, which maybe we'll come to that at some point in the conversation.
Yeah, I guess we should definitely come to that point right now because you just mentioned about communications. So, how exactly this inter-blockchain communication happens? Do they talk like the way we are talking right now?
So basically, so when I talk specifically about cross chain, so what
Yeah.
happens is you have smart contracts enabled, like these are smart contract based chains, and they talk to each other via smart contract. And basically, it's the concept is really simple. If you are sending ETH to Solana, you send it to a ETH contract. It gets locked in
Mm-hmm.
there, and some relayer is relaying this information to the Solana contract, and then it will basically mint an equivalent amount of WETH on the
Mm.
Solana chain. So this is how it works. And then when it comes to the security issues, right? Because they are using smart contracts, right? They are susceptible to like things like bugs or
Mm.
hacks and stuff like that. So let's say you've transferred Ethereum to Solana, and then maybe like the Solana bridge gets hacked, right? Now your Ethereum is not
Right.
backed 1:1. So these kind of things can be a problem. Another greater problem is one that I think Vitalik um, had this elaborate tweet on,
Mhm.
where he talked about multi-chain and cross-chain. Basically, what is going to happen is that once you start building these cross-chain bridges,
Mhm.
there won't be any limit to how many chains you're crossing. Like really focused towards decentralization, but some chains are not. Some chains are like just focused towards scalability, speed, and maybe like lower gas costs, but they compromise a lot of decentralization over there. And we know like there are some chains that exist right now. I won't name them, but what happens if, like, let's say you do a cross bridge transfer, and then the other chain is, which, since it's more centralized, it is like susceptible to some censorship, or it can get a 51% attack. So now you're
Right.
like, now, since basically, let's say your Ethereum chain is not securing your ETH, right? Since you've already
Mm.
transferred it to some other chain, which might have a compromised security, right?
Mm.
Now your Ethereum is kind of vulnerable to the security of this other chain, and this kind of
Right.
multiplies as you like cross more and more bridges.
Mm.
And then there might be a point, like if adoption of cross chain bridges reaches a significant TVL, and something like this happens, it will kind of have a contagion effect on all the entire ecosystem. So
Mm.
that is the concern I have with cross chain bridges. On the other hand, if you talk about something like the interchain, which is the Cosmos or the Polkadot ecosystem, which they're built in a way that they are designed towards interchain communication. So you can have multiple chains talk to each other within the protocol
Okay.
itself. So they are much more secure, and they are much more aligned towards that. And I think these chains will thrive better, and will be
Mm.
more secure in terms of usage, rather than like bridging things via smart contracts and stuff like that.
Right. So actually, on that note, I do remember that this year has actually been actually a year of consecutive hacks that has happened, and most of these hacks have been happening on bridges more. So
Exactly.
while I while I was reading about all of these, I did come to a conclusion, which of course a lot of experts have already mentioned, that these hacks are not happening because of some big mistake that these developers, or the people at the back end have done. It's mostly because of the loopholes that are there in the whole system itself. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
do you want to give more examples of such loopholes, or do you want to share your experience anywhere if you have ever faced something like that or read something like that?
No, I think luckily I haven't faced anything like that, because I think I haven't used cross-chain aggregators like a lot. But I think there was an example of hack that happened between Solana and ETH bridge.
Hmm.
That was a significant value, and you keep on hearing these wormhole hacks or exploits that happen, and these are bound to
Hmm.
happen because they are like two different chains built for two different things, and then you're doing some kind of patchwork to kind of
Hmm.
let them talk to each other. They're not designed for that from the ground up, like let's say something like Cosmos is designed for. On the other hand, like I have like a good amount of experience using interchain. Over
Hmm.
there, the experience is like really seamless. I've used Cosmos a lot. There are delays, like that's still developing. So you have relayers that relay these cross, I won't say cross chain, but interchain transactions.
Hmm.
But they are all solvable. Like this is like still a new ecosystem, like relatively new and immature ecosystem that's being developed. But that has like I think a really good potential. And one more good advantage I would like to point out with the interchain is that, so if you see something like Uniswap, right?
Hmm.
It's a DEX on top of Ethereum, right? And you have like a reward token or a governance token like a Uniswap, right?
Right.
A similar example on the Cosmos ecosystem is Osmosis,
Hmm.
which is a DEX, but the advantage over there, or the difference over there, is like Osmosis has its own chain, right, within the
Hmm.
interchain. So the
Hmm.
security is kind of shared, one, and then it
Hmm.
also enables the Osmosis community to do things like maybe like allow zero fees transaction. I'm not saying
Hmm.
they probably will do. They have actually done that. That leaves them susceptible to spam attacks. But this is where like they can optimize for user experience, whereas Uniswap can't. Like Uniswap is limited to the gas price of Ethereum, and they'll always be limited to that because they are built on top of Ethereum, right? Unless Ethereum is optimized, the Uniswap users won't have that experience. But whereas in terms of Osmosis, they have that control where they can kind of pass those proposals and then add those changes, because they control, like, that's a completely separate chain, and it's not like
Mhm.
built on top of some other chain.
Perfect. I mean, that's actually a lot of knowledge for me and, of course, our viewers to take. And I really appreciate everything that you have been sharing with us. And actually, coming back to the security part a little bit more, I do have one question for you, which is, of course, multi-chains, they are providing a lot of solutions and they're providing a lot of services for people. And one of those is asset transfer. But when I am as a user, when I am, taking benefit of all of these services, मतलब, how much secure I should feel while doing all of this, or how secure it is in terms of
So I
asset
think,
transfers.
yeah, so I think, so with when it comes to multi-chain, your security, like your view of security is basically the view of chain you're operating on. So if you
Mm-hmm.
feel that Ethereum is secure, right, then your funds are, like, you can be assured that there won't be any issues. If you feel that the way Cosmos ecosystem is built up, they have enough security built in, so you can be assured of that. So it's basically derived from the chain itself, and nothing to do with smart contracts and stuff. Whereas when it comes to cross chain, there's another element of trusting the smart contract. So that's basically a two-level thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
since you can like hop on multiple bridges, then that kind of adds more and more, like, as you're hopping more cross chain bridges, you are adding more and more complexity, and then you're also taking on additional risk when you're doing that. So I think, in short, if your assets are on the native chain,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's the best. They should be secured by the native chain only. Obviously, like, you might have cases where you want to transfer it. So then, let's say if you're doing it via interchain, IBC or something like that, then that's the
Mm-hmm.
second best thing. The last best thing is, I would say, cross chain bridges via wormholes and stuff like that. So that would be my order.
Mm-hmm. So, actually, with now we are almost in one of the last segments of our session. I want to know what role Liminal has played in enabling security norms at ZepPay.
I think a lot. So basically, see, the most critical thing that an exchange manages is the funds of the user, right? Their wallets.
Definitely.
And that is where Liminal comes in. The one thing I would say that they have helped with is distributing and decentralizing the keys in a transparent way. So with
Mm-hmm.
Liminal, you have complete control of your wallets to yourself, but at the same time, you are like uh, distributing the risk by using multi-sig wallets or MPC wallets. So I think, yeah, so in that way, Liminal has been like really good. The other thing is, basically it provides visibility as well. So to
Mm-hmm.
senior folks or finance folks, because like someone like a tech person can go and implement multisig or MPC by themselves. Some, like, they can implement their own protocol and then protect their wallet in that case. But then when it comes to people who are in other departments, let's say finance or maybe compliance and stuff like that, it's really hard for them to understand these things, right? So when you have like a really transparent dashboard where you can see things, who has access to which wallets and stuff like that, it becomes really easier and people become comfortable in using things as well. So yeah, so I would say like Liminal has been pivotal in security. Whenever an exchange is operating these wallets, there are like n number of ways you can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you need someone to tell you that, or like to kind of guide you or show you that this is the best opinionated approach to do things, right? So that's where kind of Liminal helps as well. And then what we also do is that we divide the risk between multiple types of wallets. So you have hot wallets, you have cold wallets, you have multi-sig cold wallets and stuff like that. So you secure your funds in the most secure, majority of your funds in the most secure wallets, right? And then
Mhm.
you keep limited funds in your hot wallets for withdrawal processing and stuff like that. So that is where I think Liminal has provided that infrastructure to for us to build uh, on top, like build in that manner, like in our preferred manner. And then obviously the API integration is also really smooth and easy, so that has helped with the seamless integration of a hot wallet and stuff like that.
Thank you. Thank you. So, with this actually brings us to the last question of the questionnaires. And the last question which I have for you is about Ethereum 2.0 or the Ethereum merge that has recently happened. And I want you to do a little comparison between what Ethereum merge has for us or in comparison to multi-chains.
Um, I'm not so basically Ethereum merge was all about moving from proof of work to proof of stake.
Mm-hmm.
So that was basically the switch in the consensus mechanism that Ethereum had. Like the developers of Ethereum have been talking about this for a while, and that has finally happened. That has been successful. What
Mm-hmm.
this does for Ethereum and ecosystem is that it kind of enables them to implement other multiple improvements that they had planned. So things like sharding, rollups, which will solve the scalability issues and stuff. So definitely in a way that so this will help maybe in future to kind of scale Ethereum much better
Mm-hmm.
on the layer one itself, right? But then I think this won't impact the multi-chain much because layer two, I think if you want to achieve this like the what do you call the scale of layer two, it would be like very difficult to do it on a layer one. So layer two will still have a role to play. Other chains will still have a role to play because they are all like independent ecosystems solving for their ecosystem. So I think I would say like there's probably like no impact on the multi-chain thing when it comes in regards to the ETH merge.
All
So
right.
they are like fairly independent things.
Thank you. Thank you for this, for your insightful knowledge. I'm pretty sure, including me, a lot of viewers, we all are going home with a lot of knowledge today, and I do believe we are becoming a little more of aware users. So, guys, if you want to know more about Ethereum Merge or Ethereum 2.0, we can have a whole new webinar with, of course, new speakers and new hosts. So, thank you so much, Rahil, for being an amazing speaker here. And you actually have enlightened us with a lot of knowledge that I do believe we should all have. So, thank you so much.
Thank you,
So,
Lakshmi. It was a pleasure being here and sharing and having a conversation with you. Um,
mm,
nice to be here. I think yeah, it was great.
thank you. So, guys, if you don't know about us, we are Liminal and we help crypto native businesses in improving their operational efficiency, which actually leads to scaling of their businesses. I've been waiting to say this one line for the whole session, so I guess this is the perfect time for me to say it now that, you know, liminal secure is actually the new definition of security. So if you're not liminal secure, become liminal secure today itself. Thank you.
Wow, what an insightful session it was. And I'm sure, just like Lakshmi said, I have personally gotten to know so much more about multi chain thanks to you, Rahil. And it was a pleasure having you today with us. And thank you so much once again for sharing such valuable knowledge with us. And thanks, Lakshmi, for being such a nice co host. This webinar is our attempt at spreading more knowledge and education and educating the masses about blockchain and crypto. So, if you want to talk about any particular topic in our upcoming episodes, please do comment and let us know. We come up with new episodes every alternate Thursday, so don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to know more about Liminal, please click on the website link mentioned below in the description box. Thank you so much for having your time and being here with us.